Hey, what's up, everybody? Doing a pretty simple and consistently done meal here at my place. My wife loves them, I love them. They're simple, and you can use kind of whatever you have around to make them work. And that is tacos. In this case, fish tacos. So I got some ingredients here. I got some sliced onions that I've already sliced up, and they're soaking in water just to take the edge off, and then I'll drain those. We've got some chopped cilantro here. I've got about a half jalapeno diced up, and I got half avocado that I will dice up as well. And as well, have a couple just soft corn tortillas that I have just recently pulled out of the freezer and are thawing them out. They thaw out really quickly because they're very thin. And I'll be using a little bit of flour on the fish here. And this fish is tilapia. You can use any white fish, or really any fish you want, but I think white fish works better. I started wanting to replicate this because I found that some of the best food at Mexican restaurants around here anyways is fish tacos, in particular white fish tacos. So I tried to replicate that at home, and I've done it a bunch of times, and it's worked its way into the rotation, and I'm going to show you how I go about doing it. All right, so first off, I'll turn on the stove top here, get it up to a sort of a medium heat, a non-stick. I got just one fillet of tilapia here, and I'm going to dry it off first and foremost. Give it some slaps. Right, if you got a paper towel, it's the best way. You just kind of come down, give it some taps, some love taps. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to cut it up, and I'm looking at cutting it up into two main sections here. There's a thick part and there's a thin part to this fillet. I'm going to cut it down the middle because there's two different cooking times. The thin pieces are going to cook a lot faster than the thick pieces. All right, so starting with the thicks, I'm going to cut them up into about almost like my thumb, a little bit smaller than my thumb as far as thickness goes. Try to cut them up approximately even sized, and again, the reason for that is you want stuff to be coming up in doneness, with an approximate doneness across the board. So things come up, something's not overcooked, well, something else is undercooked. So that's pretty hard to do in this case, but I'm just cutting these into two different sections, if you will. I'll put on all these at the same time, and the thin pieces will come off earlier than the thick pieces. Okay, so what I got here is just evenly cut tilapia, and then I'm going to put some flour on them. Now the flour helps dry them out even further, and it also makes it easier to get a nice crisp and a nice brown coat on the tilapia when it's done. Okay, so I got just some white flour here. You can also use cornstarch or arrowroot if you want. And I've already done all my cuts on this cutting board, my vegetable cuts. It's what I tend to do normally. I do vegetable cuts, and then I move the veggies somewhere else, and then I can use the cutting board for meat. If you want to use more dishes, then you can use multiple cutting boards, but I'm not into dishes. Okay, so I just kind of get on with a teaspoon. Probably a couple teaspoons there. And then I just kind of mix it up in the flour. And you want a nice coat on each piece, because essentially I'm going to cook it on each side. And then I'm going to season it at the end. Maybe not everybody would agree with that, but I actually like to season it at the end, almost like French fries. When you see them come out of the fryer, if you don't hit them with the salt right away, it's kind of a failure. But once these come out, I'm going to hit them with the salt and season them from that point. Okay, so we got an even coat on all of these. I could also put some salt on them now. The frying pan is pretty much up to heat. It is super hot here. Wow. Okay. I'm going to crank it up a bit. I didn't want it to get it too hot. Going to put all of these in the pan once it hits up its ideal temp. I'm going to pull off the small pieces first, season them. I'm going to lay them on some paper towels to kind of help get some of the oil off. I'm just going to use olive oil in this case. And then once this is all done, we're just going to assemble them. And you can, I typically assemble them for other people, but if people have their own choice cuts in your house, you can do that. All right, so I think we're pretty much rocking in here. Little bit olive oil. Maybe just a little under a tablespoon. Hopefully that's enough. The flour kind of sucks some of that up. And then I'm going to start putting flat surfaces down. Just trying to get as much of the surface of the fish onto the pan at once, just to get a nice, some nice brown action going. And I'm trying to divide my pan, in this case, with the thin and the thick pieces. The thickies over here, the thinnies a little bit over here. Whether or not that stays, it's an unsolved mystery right now. And I'm trying to get oil on each piece to ensure that they all cook at approximately the same rate. Because if some of the pieces are going to be cooking in oil and other ones are not, the ones that are cooking in oil are obviously going to be cooking faster, getting more brown action, while the other pieces are going to be a little bit neglected with less brown action, and that is not what we want. All right, I'm going to ditch this and clear up some space. Oops. And that as well. I'm going to get my degreasing station going on here, where I'll put the fish when it's done. And I got everything kind of local and handy. Keep it nice and simple. Tacos, interestingly enough, tacos were pretty much the first dish, or the first food that I actually learned how to cook, I think. Like next to hot dogs and like those Campbell soups or whatever. But I remember back in the day, it was one of the few things I could make before my mom got home from work, where I would just take some ground beef, brown it up, and then we'd have these little like El Paso, I think was the brand, like the taco kits, which came with the hard taco shells. I think it came with like some kind of taco seasoning, some kind of chili seasoning, and maybe some salsa or something. So I always used to do that, and that was like pretty much like the first food I actually learned how to do. I mean, I don't think I did a good job with it. It was kind of nasty, and I would just take those hard shells, and then you put in some cheese, normally some lettuce, and some salsa or whatnot. So yeah, that was interesting or completely uninteresting, depending on your opinion. But if we come around full circle into the fish taco, the more elevated, little fancy taco, and yeah, so here we are. So I can kind of look at the side and see if there's any brown action going. You don't want to get your head too close, because then it can come spatter up and hook you up in the face. Trust me, it's happened multiple times with me. And I use some tongs. Now, really what I should have is some of these tongs that have a silicone exterior to them, so I don't scratch the pan. So I'm very careful here to, when I'm flipping them, to do that very carefully. All right, so I'll do a little tester here. Oh, there's a little brown action. Now, whitefish is very flaky, so you want to be it's very delicate, basically. So
I'm just going to start flipping things over, especially these thin ones actually should be my first, because they are going to cook like, they're probably almost cooked right now. As soon as I touch them on the other side, these ones could use a little more brown action, so I'm going to keep it real. These ones, which were in the oil, have clearly more brown action, some more taste, some more flavors. All right, but these ones I think were a little neglected in the oil. So I'm going to let them sit for a bit longer. And move them around, right? That helps get the oil on the bottom, helps distribute the heat evenly on each piece. And yeah, so basically it's a waiting game like it always is here. Maybe what I'll do right now is I will have a half avocado here that I've taken the pit out of. Now, what I normally do, you can make guac with this. I'm just going to dice it up into small little pieces, and I'm going to add that on as the first layer to my taco. So I think I can do this with a dull knife. I normally do it with a sharp, but now what you do, I just go with a lattice through this. It's a ripe avocado, and that oil is hooking me up. So I'm kind of just going the smaller pieces you want. Obviously, the closer together your cuts are going to be. And again, if you're going to use a sharp knife, be very careful. Like, the sharp knife can easily penetrate through this avocado skin. So if you can see that, essentially once I take a spoon to it, they're all going to come out in a cubed fashion. All right, so that's pretty much ready to go. Maybe I'll add a little bit of lemon to it, just to prevent it from browning, and also add a little bit of acidity to the taco at the end of the day. Oh, here we go. These are looking good, and these are actually almost finished, like I said. These small pieces don't require too much. Oh yeah. We're getting there. It hooks us up with a little bit of, really what you should have is like a real lime, but I don't have a real lime right now. Lime would make everything a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more in theme than lemon, but it works. It'll work. God. I don't know about y'all, but it's like over 100 degrees here. In Celsius, that's like 33, 35. It is ruthlessly hot. So I try to use the minimum amount of burners and or oven work, because it's ruthless. All right, so I think some of these are totally done. I'm going to put these on, the thinnest ones anyways. A couple of these I'm going to let go a little bit more. Now the other thing you can consider is, sometimes I overcook these things just to get a little bit more of a crust on them. Because I find that the crust will add a little bit more flavor than maybe a little bit more moist or properly cooked fish. So ideally you get moist fish with like a nice crust, but you can't always get that unless you turn into a pro. So I'm turning them onto their sides just to get all sides for the thick pieces anyways. Because right now I've got two sides with a nice, some nice brown action, and I got two sides without. Oh, this is starting to look good. I'm going to hit these with a little bit of salt. As I said, like French fries out of the fryer. If you ever see that in a restaurant or at a fast food place, they always salt them right out of the fryer, because there's still a little bit of oil, still a little bit of moisture that's going to cling onto that salt. And I'm doing the same thing with the fish. All right, so some of these thinner pieces are most def ready. Nice. You can see that nice brown going on there. is going to be beauty. All right. And the other thing I do at the very end, once I pull this fish off, is I'm going to put some of these. I'm going to put these on the pan just to get a little bit of cook on the tortillas, because I think it makes them taste a lot better than just sort of a raw, soft tortilla. Now, if you ever want to know like what temperature to get fish to, typically it's 145 degrees Fahrenheit, and that will take care of pretty well all fish, or at least white fish. I think salmon and stuff, depending on the quality of the fish in question and how fresh it is, etc., and the handling that has happened from catching it to the point you have it. You can go a little bit lower if it's fresher, if it's of higher quality, and you know where it's been. So I don't really have to check these. I know that they're going to be over 145 for sure. But if you want to check, you can just insert a thermometer into the thickest piece and just ensure that you are on the safe side of food safety. Give it a little shake. Get this one in some oil. And I can tell you, these are like 20 seconds away from getting done. Now, you don't have to use fish. I've done tacos with tempeh, I've done it with tofu, I've done it with leftover roasted chicken. You ever buy those chickens from the grocery store? You can even use that. You just cut them up, dice them up, and you can throw them in a taco. So really any kind of protein. I've done like black bean tacos before, or garbanzo beans, chickpeas, same thing. Any kind of bean, whatever you like, any kind of protein, you can kind of throw it in a taco and use some of the stuff you have around your kitchen to A, kind of get rid of some stuff that may be hanging around, but and B, just to have like something that's super tasty, fresh in the summer. Look at that nice brown action. Onto a paper towel. I'm going to turn this down slightly. Get these down. Just get a little cook on. It's going to add a little bit of flavor. Now I've got some of these thinly sliced onions that I'm going to dry out. And again, I put them in the water just to take the edge off the onion. It takes the rawness off of the onion, and I think it gives you a little bit more pleasant breath and as the day goes on. Just taking in raw onions, nobody really likes that. Well, not nobody. Actually, it's quite tasty, but the people in your face are not going to like that. All right, so just hitting them from a high. With the salt, if you want, you can hit it with a bit of peps. I'm only doing 2 tacos here. I'll probably have a little bit of this left over. But you can do 3. It's probably a bit more of a standard size. Whew. Okay, now for some additional condiments. I normally hit up the sriracha. Boom. In this case, I make sauerkraut, which is awesome on so many things, and I'm going to do a demo for you on that, hopefully very soon. What else do I got here? I got the onions, maybe a little bit of salsa on the top. So I got some salsa here. And these, good to go. So as you can see on here, I've gotten a little bit of color on this now. It's going to make it taste a bit better. It also infuses a little bit of the flavor that was in the pan from the fish and the oil into the tortilla, which makes it taste a little better as well. Sort of just elevating each component a little bit will make the whole product a lot better in the end. All right, assembly time. So like I said, I normally do this for people, but which is normally my wife, but I've made it for company as well. But it's up to you. It's a fun event for the kids if they're into it. In this case, I just hit it with a stripe down the middle of the sriracha. Now from here, you can I'm just trying to scoop it out not really fully out. I'm just kind of loosening it from the skin, if you will. And now inside the skin, we've got a bunch of avocado that are cubed. So I'm going to put a little bit in there, a little bit in there, kind of spread it out a bit. Nice. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt because avocado is pretty bland without. All right, that's looking really awesome. Now you can go on with the fish. So I like to use some, these big pieces are the choice pieces, to be honest. Normally 2 of them will do. Okay. So it looks something like that. I don't know how well you can see that. And then from here, I'm going to put on the onions. I'll put on some cilantro, some chopped up jalapeno, and whatever you like, really. So add a few onions, again, for flavor and some texture. Get that crunch going. I'm going to hit it with, I love jalapeno for the heat and the flavor. Some of the sauerkraut. The dogs love sauerkraut. Like, I give it to them every day. I think it's good for their internal biome. So their the bacteria that reside in their intestines. I think it's good. It's definitely good for us. So I'm going to add it to their dish first. Buddy. All right, now for me. Just a little bit on there. Boom. What else we got? I think just some salsa. Now this is the most watery salsa I've ever. This is the Whole Food salsa. Man, this stuff's weak, but it's mostly just liquid. So I try to get a little bit of some chunks going down. Again, I'm just trying to add multiple layers of flavors. And what else? Oh, and then just the cilantro. 1, 2. Alright, and that's it. That's pretty quick. It really doesn't take much longer if you're doing it for more people. Like this case, I just did it for myself. If I cook it for me and my wife, it really doesn't take any extra time. I'd maybe do 2 fillets instead of 1. And you can do 2 fillets would probably get you 6 tacos, maybe 3 each. And that's it, really. You can use whatever. If you don't have any of this stuff, you can just substitute whatever you like. Just try to think about seasoning everything so it's not bland. You know, normally what I do is also, I just kind of hit it with a little bit of salt at the end, just in case I kind of forgot. I am a salt lover. I'm a savory guy over a sweet guy. And that's it. And there you have your 2 tacos. You fold them up and go for it. Really simple, easily replicable. Is that the word? Replicable? Replicatable? Replicable. Yeah, I think you can rock this in your own kitchen. It's super easy. Hey, what's up, Rob? And yeah, otherwise, let me know how it goes for you. Hit me up with any suggestions if you got them. I want to do a sauerkraut. This is just fermented green cabbage. It's kind of a German dish, but it's good on so many things. Like, it's awesome on burgers. It's awesome on tacos. You know, if you do like hot dogs, sausages, dogs like it. Don't give it to your dogs. We look into that first, but we give it to our dogs. And I just put it on their meal, on their kibble and vegetables every day, and it actually drives them crazy. In a good way. All right, so until next time, jump over to, and that's still hot, but jump over to Healthy Archer Facebook page or healthyarcher.com, and you can get more info. And I think one of my things that I'm going to be doing really soon is I'm going to be doing a knife skills course, something that will be just pretty easy and accessible. In case you wanted to know how I came up with these cuts, and I do it with ease actually, and it didn't used to be that way. I used to be I used to have pretty horrible knife skills, and it wasn't even that long ago that was the case. So I would love to show all y'all how to do that with more efficiency, so that you can start cooking with more enjoyment, which really at the end of the day is where you want to be. All right, so until next time, take it easy.